Views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station, its owners, staff, or management. The following program is sponsored by Rob Warner at Guild Mortgage, NMLS number 825102. Welcome to the Happy Hour with Rob Warner, an hour of stimulating conversation adding value to your financial future. Rob brings helpful insights into many aspects of the mortgage and real estate industry. Now, here's your host, Rob Warner.
Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Happy Hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend and a wonderful Monday. Today, we're breaking up the show a little bit. We're doing something different. My guests are my good friend, Joe Rigdon, and a special, very talented singer-songwriter, Lauren Murphy, will be joining us today, and we're going to do a special tribute to Independence Day. I know we're a day early on it, but this is when our show airs. So anyway, it's going to be a great show. Here we go. I want to give out a big shout to Jennifer Ty before we start the show. She's a realtor up in Placerville. She works for RE/MAX. She is instrumental in getting Lauren Murphy on the show for us today because she's a real talented realtor, but she loves music as well. So a big shout out to Jennifer Ty. It's spelled Jennifer and then T-E-I-E. RE/MAX in Placerville. Her phone number is 916-952-1665. Anyway, here we go with the show. Joe, how's it going today?
Are you kidding, man? I got to spend the whole day with me. I've been in great company all day. I'm fantastic.
That's the best company to have, huh?
Absolutely. Everybody should be the coolest person they know.
Oh, jeez. Well, that's good. Hey, I know you were in an automobile accident the other day, and you probably are sick of talking about it, huh? But
it's funny. I wasn't involved in a vehicle collision a few nights ago. Somebody ran into me and kind of messed up the car. The car is actually a pretty big accident. The airbags blew and all that stuff. But the really funny thing is, when you get into an automobile accident and people find out about it, everyone wants to tell you about the automobile accident that they've been in. They always want to share their own story, which is natural. It's a natural human component. But I found it, I must be really lucky because everyone shares this. They're like, oh, yeah, I did this, and then my leg was messed up for months, or a few days later I had all this pain. I'm fine. First day, little concussed, mildly concussed, not really with it. After that, 100%, no problem. So, I don't know if I got an angel on my shoulder or whatever, but no problem here at all. I came out of the accident 100%.
Well, praise God for that. I'm glad you're okay. You're a strong guy, so that's why you're able to weather through all those types of things, right?
Yeah, you got to keep it tough in there. Yeah, I don't know. I got real lucky. I've been a real lucky guy in a lot of ways. I got a great wife. I get to be on your show. That's a lucky break for me to come.
Well, there you go. So
and talk to people. So.
Well, anyway, so tomorrow's a very special day, Joe, and so that's why I invited you in. I always like to have you here on our holiday shows because you always are a wealth of information.
I thought it was just because I was available.
So, not many people these days seem to know the significance of Independence Day. So, have you noticed that?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
What it is? What's significance?
No, I'm asking you, do you agree that a lot of folks out there don't really know what it stands for anymore?
Isn't it the day that we defeated the aliens when they came to attack and Bill Pullman or Paxton, I don't know, I always get the two confused, decided to say, oh, no, sorry, that was that movie. No, I don't know. I think most people generally view it as, the day we ultimately declared our independence from Britain. It's the day that I think the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence was actually written on the 2nd or ratified in Congress or something like that. I'm a little hazy on.
You're pretty good actually. The legal separation of the 13 colonies from Great Britain in 1776 actually occurred on July 2nd. You're correct.
Okay,
so,
but then on the 4th is when they passed it through Congress? Is that
and I guess there's a lot of, no, actually they're saying it actually didn't get, what are they saying? I thought it was like 2 months later that actually in August or September that they actually, and I'm not unprepared to talk about it right now, isn't that something? But, there's some disputing on the dates on that.
I don't know. One of the things I always like most about the Declaration of Independence is it's where we get the term John Hancock. I know that may not be the most patriotic thing to say about it, but I think it is actually a really patriotic thing because John Hancock, we always use that term, give something your John Hancock. It means your signature.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that means that is because if you look at the actual Declaration of Independence, you got all the signatures, and then there's this one giant signature on it. And John Hancock, he loathed King George entirely, was one of the biggest advocates for separating from England at the time, just completely hated him. So for him, it was kind of like a big FU on the Declaration of Independence. He wrote his name really big just to make sure that George could read it. And, because you look at those old documents, you can't even read. I don't know how anybody reads that stuff half the time. They were writing in, such pretty cursive and little tiny letters. You got to get a magnifying glass out to read what it actually says, but not his name, boy. You can see it right there in big and bold.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's an interesting factoid, that's for sure. Yeah, John, you know what, you want to hear something else that's really coincidental? This probably has nothing to do with what we're talking about here, but that John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the only signers of the Declaration, both died on the same day on July 4th in 1826. Is that a weird...
Wow.
Yeah.
Rob, just to interject, I don't know if I told you, but, I'm DAR.
This is Lauren Murphy speaking right now.
Hello, I'm just interjecting for a moment. The Declaration of Independence was actually based on the Mecklenburg documents that my great-great-great-grandfather, Captain James Jack, had a tavern in a town in North Carolina, and they would have these secret meetings to rebel against the British, and they would kick these ideas around. The Mecklenburg documents were given to his son, Patrick, who rode through the night under British fire to deliver them to the First Continental Congress, thus the foundation of the Declaration of Independence.
Good. I'm glad you're helping me out here because I tried to do as much research as I could, but that's a really cool thing to know.
That's your distant relative?
A distant relative,
we got a celebrity in the house, Rob. You're not the only celebrity in the room anymore.
Oh,
here it is.
But it seems, hey, you have two young, well, they're not young anymore. How old are your two boys?
They're big now, 14 and 17.
So do they know what the Independence Day stands for, do you think? Have you ever talked to them about it?
If you ask them, they'd probably say barbecues and swimming and
fireworks.
My boys are pretty sharp. They would. I don't know that they'd give you any kind of a big speech, but I know that they would know that it's the separation from England and our deck. Regardless of when you want to get to the finer points of it, I think the grander scheme of what it is and what we remember that day is that it's the day we declared our independence from what was considered at the time to be our oppressive, governing body, where we decided to become a nation. We went from being colonies to a country.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking up some research on it to try to brush up my history, whatever you want to call it, skills, but history wasn't my favorite topic when I was younger, but I was looking up the American Revolution because that revolution went on from 1765 through 1783. It was quite a long period of time. Do you?
Oh gosh.
Do you know about that, Lauren?
I don't know a ton about the time frame of the American Revolution. I know my family is pre-Jamestown, came over. I guess it was like 1602. That we came over, and we were Northerners. We came down from Maine and ended up moving south. But yeah, that was a long, from what I've been told with the family history and that the James Jack and his son Patrick Jack, and I don't remember the town in North Carolina where it is, but there's a statue to my relative, James, in this little roundabout, and you can go to the old brick building where the tavern was. The father actually, when the British burnt down the tavern after, and they sent the son out the door with the Mecklenburg documents, and the old dad had a heart attack the next day. It affected him so strongly. So I can't imagine coming to a new country, settling with this expectation that we're going to have a new life, and the crown continues to oppress. What are you going to do? You're going to revolt.
I guess the whole thing about the American Revolution, going over that for a minute, is basically they were no taxation without representation. The British government was really, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that's interesting to me about the whole revolution and the Revolutionary War, I'm a patriot through and through. I'm very, very happy that they decided to revolt against Britain, and they created what I consider to be the greatest nation in the history of the world. But we have I mean, we go so broad on the Boston Tea Party and the taxation without representation, but it's very important to remember that the revolution was not a popular idea. This was not a popular idea. This was not, it's not like the country all came together and said, oh yeah, get out of here, England. It was a very small group. They were considered radicals. I mean, these were Washington, Jefferson, the guys that had these mindsets, they were considered extremists and radicals. Most people did not support them. It was actually not until you got to remember also, a lot of the taxes that they imposed were on things like paper and ink, which today, yes, everyone has paper and ink, but at that time, that's what lawyers and people like that used. They were taxing, the taxes that Britain was imposing weren't really hitting most of the colonists. They were hitting guys like Washington and Adams in their pocketbooks. And it definitely affected a group that was able to form, the legal means to try and, make things such as the Declaration. But it wasn't until Britain's response to the radicals that started to gain more momentum and unity amongst the colonists, the way that the crown responded, the way that they came in and, kind of brought down the hammer upon the people in order to quell the problem didn't help. It actually fueled the revolution more and more and more as conflict grew. That's how they gained more support. But I think it's really important to remember that, we're a country of extremes. We're a country that likes extremes. We like new things, and we were founded that way as well.
Well, hold that thought. We're taking a quick break. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
It's the Happy Hour with Rob Warner on Money 105.5 and Money1055.biz.
Welcome back to the Happy Hour. This is Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. Once again, joined by Joe Rigdon and Lauren Murphy, my two guests today. Happy to have you here. Joe, we were talking, both of you were just kind of having a conversation about Independence Day and what it means. And I'm glad you both have some history behind you.
Yeah.
And you, especially Lauren, since your great, back a ways,
Back a
family
ways, yes.
Was actually involved in all this. And Joe, you brought up some good points just now. So, Joe,
I do what I can.
I don't know about how you feel about reading the Declaration of Independence or if that's even apropos on a radio show, but, I think at least get through a part of it. What do you think, Joe?
No, I'll go ahead and read some of it, Rob. Rob asked me to read some of this Declaration of Independence, and I'll go ahead and do it in the best reading voice I can. I'll give it my best shot, because actually one things I did want to talk about here, Rob, because your show is here in Sacramento, and it's a local Sacramento show. I'm actually become quite involved in the local Sacramento film industry. I act in a certain number of films, short films, and I've actually gotten a role in a feature film. I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. So let's see how good of a performance I can give with the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, so that was just you were just giving us a disclaimer there, or what?
Yeah, well, I'm saying why I'm the good choice to do this. I'm going to find out.
Good, because I really appreciate that. I think it's good for people to hear.
Keep in mind, if I stumble, I have honestly not read this since I think I was in junior high, and that was a while ago. So
well, go ahead, Joe. I think people would like to hear it.
So this is the copy that Rob gave me too. So if it's incorrect, all blame goes across the
Oh,
table.
thanks a lot.
So we have the Declaration of Independence in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. So let's see. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, see, I knew I'd mess something up, pursuing invariably the same are accustomed, same objective evidences are a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object to the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And then from there it goes into the actual, grievances that they had with the king. But I think one of the really, to me, one of the most important things in this document, Rob, and I kind of forgotten about the wording until, like I said, it's been a while since I've actually read
Well, thank
this
you for
document.
reading it, by the way.
Yeah, anytime, buddy, anytime. But no, really, honestly, when it comes here and it says, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, I think this is so important. One of the things, if I may, on Independence Day, talk about that I think we lose sight of in our country when it comes to our president. We have a lot of heated debate in this country right now about our president. We had a lot of heated debate. We always have a lot of heated debate with our president. But one thing I think it's very important to note when it talks about the consent of the governed, one thing we hear a lot of presidents talking about these days is what they're going to do. What they're going to do for the people, what they're going to get done. They're going to go to, I'm going to Capitol Hill and I'm going to get things done. Whether it's hope and change or making America great again, or I don't know what Bush's catchphrase was, but whatever phrase they have and what they're going to go and accomplish and how are they going to get these done. I think we've kind of lost sight that the president's not really supposed to get things done. The president is our consent of the governed. The president is supposed to be our public defender. He's the one, because the main power that the president has, besides controlling the military, is the power of veto. The president has the power to sit there and say, look, Congress, whatever you're working on, make sure that it properly represents the people, because if it doesn't, I'm going to veto it. So you need to really work hard to make sure that whatever legislation you're passing truly represents these people without oppressing the rights of the minority. Otherwise, I'm going to veto it. But that's sort of what we've lost sight of, and we've gotten into this popularity contest and this drive to get things done. We're supposed to have an inefficient government. That's the whole point. It takes a long time to get things done because it's supposed to. We don't want rapid change. People are always talking about rapid change. Rapid change is what you get with dictatorships, totalitarian governments. They change rapidly and without any notice for the public. We want to change slowly. We want to allow society to change, and the government will eventually advance towards that with our democratic representation. So I think that consent of the governed is so extremely important. We have a lot of politicians today that I feel do not view their job as needing consent from the governed. They're here to govern us and not ask for our consent.
Oh, it's all twisted around now, and that's what saddens me. The Constitution's being eroded away now, and the people need to look out for what happens if they do away with that document.
Absolutely.
Then we're going to wind up with tyranny and a dictator like
and it's important to note that the Constitution isn't actually, in fact, a living document. It's meant to be changed, but it's meant to be changed through a due process. Take, for example, one of the things I think was one of the biggest mistakes this country ever made, but at least they made it correctly, was prohibition of alcohol. When they prohibited alcohol, they went through due process. They actually went and amended the Constitution to prohibit alcohol. I think it was a horrible decision. That's how we got corruption and organized crime. That it created a cesspool. That's where we got Al Capone and all these gangsters from. But at least they did it correctly. So many things since then that they've tried to ban or abolish or change, they haven't done through this due process. And I think that it's important that we go through this long, lengthy process in order to change our laws, in order to change things that are going on, and that we don't react quickly. Getting back to the living document, I don't think that we should erode the Constitution necessarily, but it is a living document. It needs to be changed, needs to be updated at times, but it needs to be done so through due process.
I suppose you're right. If it's due process, Lauren, I spoke to you on the phone the other day, and you made a profound statement, and I can't remember it. Something to do with presidents, and that doesn't matter.
Yes.
Do you remember what you said? Because I thought, wow, you hit it right on the head.
I do. You asked me. You said, "Well, I'm going to have you on my show, but I need to know: are you a patriot?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And I said, regardless of who's president, it's a bigger feeling. It's the land. It's the people. It's home. And it doesn't matter who is in the Oval Office. The feeling is larger than that. It does matter, of course. But the feeling of pure patriotism, it's deeply rooted in our history and in knowing such documents as the Declaration of Independence and looking at the Star-Spangled Banner and the 4 stanzas that aren't sung. That's whole nother conversation.
Oh, well, yeah. We're going to get into that on the second half, I'm sure. But yeah, Joe, I know we're limited on time, but talk about your real quick on your little ventures on your movies.
Well, thankfully, because these guys put this Constitution together, they built this great country. Now we have all sorts of entertainment. We've got all sorts of advances, including cinema, and I've gotten myself involved in it. We actually have a couple of projects. I want to talk about it mostly because this is a Sacramento show. We're mostly reaching a Sacramento audience, and a lot of the film industry in Sacramento is very booming and budding, and it's really important for us to understand this resource that is here and available. Right now, I'm working on a project that's a part of the Access Sacramento Film Festival. That festival takes place in October of each year. This is the 18th annual. They receive submissions from a number of applicants, and then they pick 10 scripts that are actually made into short films. One of the requirements for the films is that you showcase Sacramento. So a lot of the background, the location, everything has to be shot within Sacramento. The locations need to show that you're in Sacramento. So you use the bridge and the Pioneer Center, Crest Theater, K Street Mall, things like that in this as a setting for a lot of the scenes within it, so that we can showcase Sacramento through multiple. Some people do comedies, some people do spooky stuff, some people do dramas. There's all sorts of different projects that are involved with it.
Very cool. Well, we are coming on our halftime break, so we'll be right back, everyone. Stay with us.
Now, back to the happy hour with Rob Warner on Money 105.5.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the happy hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage. And the second half of our show, we have my very special guest, Lauren Murphy. How's it going today, Lauren?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's really a pleasure having you here. I know you had to drive like 2 hours to get here to make this show today, so I really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
that.
It's great to be back in California.
Tell us a little about yourself, okay? And what inspired you to become a singer and songwriter? Can you do that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and my parents enrolled me in just about any arts class that they could, probably just because I needed to be raised a proper Southern lady. I didn't think they really wanted me to become an artist. In fact, my late father had me working for the Senate and the House of Representatives in Louisiana under, Governor Buddy Roemer, rubbed elbows with Fast Eddie Edwin Edwards, unfortunately met David Duke. It was quite legalized gambling when I worked there, and pro-choice. Quite interesting to see the dynamics. We had bricks thrown through the windows of the Senate, people protesting on the steps painted in blood.
I just want to interject real quick. I'm still here, Joe Rigdon. I was on the first half. Sorry. She interjected on my half. I'm interjecting
Absolutely.
on her.
Okay, no, that's
Please
good.
do.
I like it.
What you're talking about, I find really interesting, because one of the most common things I hear a lot right now is, this has never happened before. Politics has never been this brutal in America. Oh my gosh, what's going on? The sky is falling. Politics are crazy. You're talking about something not too long ago. If you go back to the 1800s, you got guys on the White House floor with Bowie knives, threatening each other with knives and things out on the floor. But we talk about today as if it's the most brutal time in American politics.
No, things were much more brutal. Like you said, the further back you go, the brutality increases.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because we see this so often. I'm so tired every time. Even just like, you see some of the memes on I saw one recently where they they had the new Black Panther movies coming out.
Oh gosh.
And they're promoting it as like the first, big superhero black guy movie. That a black guy's the hero in the super movie. And then they have a meme where it says, yeah, but what about Blade? Wesley Snipes was a superhero in a movie years ago. Why are we glossing over his accomplishments to try and promote this new one? It's the same with our politics. We want to think that Trump is the most brutal president. Obama was the worst president. Bush. You go back, there's all kinds of brutality as you go back.
Absolutely. I was talking with somebody yesterday about the JFK assassination, and someone said to me, "Did you ever think maybe Johnson's camp had something to do with it?" And I went, "Wow. That's a whole new twist."
I've heard that twist before, actually.
You don't want
Joe, don't get okay. We're not going to get off topic too much.
Don't talk
How
about
did you
that.
get into singing and songwriting, Laura?
Well, all of these wonderful classes in dancing and singing and theater and painting. Oh, well, it got me hooked. I thought I went to LSU. I majored in English, minored in music, also was taking theater classes. And what I found was music incorporated all of the arts. I could be a writer. I could act because each song is like a monologue of a different character. I can dance. I can express. So it put together my three favorite mediums. And people responded to it. And about a year later, I took off and went to Northern California and dove into rock and roll.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
if you can do that on the air, that is.
I can. I met my late husband. His name was Judge Murphy. We met in Northern California. He was, at the time, it was 1997, and he was fronting the band Zero. Robert Hunter, the Grateful Dead, this was his new project, featuring the lyrics of Robert Hunter. Steve Kimmock, the lead guitar player, Greg Anton on drums, Bobby Vega, who was with Etta James, on bass, and the late, great Martin Fierro played saxophone. He was with Augie Meyer's quintet, played in the Jerry Garcia band with Merle Saunders. Just about everybody Martin played with. My late husband was a little bit older than myself. So he kind of took me under his wing. We did music together, and he nurtured my career. And subsequently, we moved down to the San Francisco Bay Area together, where we lived for about 15 years on and off with, stints in Hawaii and a little stint in New Orleans, but primarily based out of San Francisco. And he introduced me to the late Sam Andrew, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Dave Getz, Peter Albin. Got to the fortunate opportunity to share the stage with him on a couple of occasions. I've been playing with Pete Sears, who was on Maggie May, the piano in Maggie May, Rod Stewart, Small Faces, Jefferson Airplane. He's now touring with Roger McNamee, another business investor. He's moonlights as a musician. He's got a band, Moon Alice. Pete's still rocking out there, but I feel very blessed, even though I lost him 3.5 years ago when we were living up in Camino. He believed in me so much and laid the foundation for me to really cut my teeth on historical music from the horse's mouth, the people that invented this great style of psychedelic rock and roll, San Francisco sound. It's a blessing.
Very cool. So your roots, though, were in El Dorado County, though, right?
We lived there for 3 years.
Okay.
We moved up and bought a house after he had organ transplant surgery. He was doing really well, and bought our dream home and thought we were going to live happily ever after, and the transplant rejected. So we were up there through his illness. Fortunately, we were in Camino. Camino is a very small community. I had a lot of support, even though we had not been there a long time. And oddly enough, a lot of Marin County people had moved up to the foothills to retire. We found a lot of people up there that were his friends, and good church that supported us as well. I just feel very blessed, and that's where I met Jennifer Ty.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, the big reason, that I have you on this show, not besides your talent, of course, is talk to me about your relationship to Francis Scott Key.
Good old Frank, cousin Frank.
Cousin Frank.
Oh, yes. He's my great, maybe one more great cousin. He married one of the King women. This is my mother's side of the family. He was an attorney at the time that he wrote the national anthem. This was during the War of 1812. It was the Battle of Fort McHenry in Baltimore. And I believe it was 9/14/1814. He was hired. The British captured someone, and he was an attorney. So they hired Francis Scott Key. Said, you got to get on this boat. They tied a dinghy next to the British boat, and he was running interference for this colonist who the British had captured, and watched the battle happening from offshore, tied to a British boat. And that's when he wrote the lyrics to the Star-Spangled Banner. It's pretty profound. Well, he sent those back to shore before he landed, and by the time he was released of his services, people were singing it in bars. The battle had been won, and it was set to the tune of a popular British drinking song. So there you have it.
Yeah, that was interesting. When Jennifer told me your relation, I said, I got to have Lauren on the show because this is great.
Why am I not getting royalties on this?
I don't know, but you should be. Hey, I read somewhere that you were dubbed Lady Willpower.
Yes, by Relics magazine.
What's that all about?
That was one of my earliest reviews. J.C. Juanis was writing for Relics at the time. He is now Phil Lesh's manager. And he reviewed my very first record and found a lot of female strength in it. And it's something that's prevailed throughout my career. Even the last record I put out, El Dorado, dedicated to my late husband and a tribute to the county, that we had some of our last memories as a family unit together. It's an amazing thing. It's just, I think about that time. It's pretty mind-blowing what we went through, and I'm so glad to be back up in the area, to be here fresh.
Well, talk to me about that album, El Dorado. When did you write that album?
That album was written the music was written half during 2013, and then the rest during 2014. That album, tying back into the Lady Willpower, when we finally finished it, it has historical characters, too. There are Sweet Louisa and For the Love of Texas Ellen are two real women who are buried in Pioneer Cemetery in Coloma, right where Sutter's Mill is.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. Louisa Weaver Alhoff Chalmers Hardy, the Black Widow of Coloma, she had 3 husbands. They all died mysterious deaths. So she was one of my first intriguing historical characters. But when I really examined her life, I twisted the song to be spooky and, give it some kind of meat that people go, ooh, that's a cool song. But Louisa, these women, these people that are buried in the cemetery, the hardship. She buried her first husband and all of their children. She buried her second husband and most of their children. And then she went on and married her third husband, outlived him. I actually couldn't find record of his death. Maybe she bagged him. I don't know. But these folks survived a lot. And for me, as a new widow, looking at these people in the graveyard that had gone through far more loss, I can't imagine burying a child than myself. And they soldiered on. So I wanted to show that in El Dorado. My producer, Mooka Rennick, he's won a Grammy for Mule Variations, Tom Waits. We recorded at the same studio. He said, Lauren, do you realize you've made a female empowerment record with El Dorado? And I said, well, no, not really. He said, that's a good thing. It's going to inspire a lot of girls.
We have about 2 minutes before our next break, but tell folks how they can get a hold of your music, could you? Right
Absolutely. Very easy. You can go to my website, laurenmurphymusic.com. Also online, CD Baby. If you shop at CD Baby or iTunes, just plug in Lauren Murphy El Dorado and you'll find that record. I did put it out in vinyl. If you'd like that, we've got that on CD Baby too. I have 2 other records, one with my late husband. Lansdale Station was our band. So you can look up Lansdale Station, and then another one, Magnolia Heart. You will find that one linked into the Eldorado on the CD.
So everything's available on your website.
Everything's up there.
That's very cool. So, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about, and I know we're so limited on the time. But what was I going to ask you? I just drew a blank. I wanted you to share about your husband's musical legacy, by the way, but I think we're going to go to a break in a second, so I'm going to have you wait till
Sure
after
thing.
that break. But here we go. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Now, back to the happy hour with Rob Warner on Money 105.5 and Money1055.biz.
Welcome back to the happy hour. I'm Rob Warner with Guild Mortgage, and we're going to finish our show with our interview with Lauren Murphy. Lauren, I was asking you about your late husband's musical legacy. You might have covered some of that already, but can you share that with
Yeah. One of the reasons I'm able to come back here twice a year is my late husband's connection to the Grateful Dead, working with Robert Hunter and putting those lyrics to life with the band Zero. If you're a muse of Robert Hunter, you're pretty blessed. When he passed away, the support, the fans went through the illness with us. And when he passed away, all of that kind of tidal waved onto myself and our daughters. And all of a sudden I'm staring out at his legacy, and it's a gift to me. A show that I've played on this run of tours was at the Sweetwater, owned by Bob Weir, and Bob's great. So he's a great guy, wonderful supporter, and I feel very blessed to be able to play his place when I come back.
What's the connection with the Grateful Dead? I mean, you people that are just loyal to them, right?
Just his lyrics really are profound. I might mention that Jerry Garcia produced Zero's first recording with my husband.
So it's the lyrics. I mean,
it's the lyrics, and it's that.
Oh, Rob, you're not a Deadhead?
You know, the amazing part is I actually do own a Grateful Dead. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if they have a best of, but I have one of their CDs. But I don't.
In the closet, that'd be the best of, right?
Yes. Yes. I think it's a mindset, and also people come for the social tribe. There's a tribal nature to the Grateful Dead, and people that follow the Dead, and the staff and the crew. You travel all over the United States. You're going to be with the same people, so it almost becomes a support system for kind of these hippie folks that feel like they don't fit into mainstream society. They do fit in this wonderful, it's almost a worldwide tribe of Deadheads.
Oh, okay. So it's considered a tribe type.
I would definitely say so.
Huh. Interesting. I know little about it, but I know people are loyal as all get out.
Yeah. And the music's fun. It can make you cry, and it'll make you dance, and it'll make you think.
I think it's an all-around experience for the people that the actual Deadheads, the people that follow this music and live with it. I think it's a lifestyle, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost an engrossing experience. It's not, I don't think any of them see it. I'm speaking on the outside of the box here. I'm not a Deadhead by any means. Not that I just wasn't my pathway.
Right.
But from what I've known of people that I have encountered that are heavily involved and do follow the Dead, it's not just the music, it's not just the environment, it's not just the people, it's kind of everything all together, like Burning Man on tour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Lauren, you know what I'm going to ask you to do now, right? Do you
Yes,
know
I
what I'm going to
do.
ask you to do?
I do.
Lauren is going to perform a song for us today, which is going to be a really wonderful tribute to the Independence Day, 4th of July.
All right, you ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous us fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hey, now I see why you wanted me to read and her to sing. I get it now.
Okay, I'm glad you did.
Completely backwards.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that for us.
That's my first time ever doing it since like grade school. You know?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've been asked to do it for ball games, but I've never had the confidence, and you gave me the confidence.
Well,
Thank you, Rob.
Hey, Rob, you're helping people with this show.
This is cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really happy having you on this show, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Both of you. It's just cool. So, Lauren, talk to me about those other two stanzas, right? I mean,
Oh, there's 4.
4.
It's
There's
pretty
4
amazing.
extra stanzas that are not normally included when people sing that.
It is a very long, long song. After let's see.
Do you know why it's just too long for people to
I
sing
think it's too long, and I really believe that first stanza, as an editor, that embodies the message of patriotism. I mean, the beauty of that flag still being there after the carnage.
You know when they cut out those stanzas?
I do not know, but I know that
Or is it
Herbert
just like
Hoover
for
made
radio play or whatever.
Right,
like, hey,
radio
man, this
play.
isn't long, and this song's too long. For
Why? Do you
radio
know the
play.
answer to that?
No. Why would I ask if I know?
I
the
don't know.
answer to
Maybe
it?
you had that trivia.
You go
You know,
around-
I know you. You pull
You
things
go
out of a
around
hat.
asking questions that you already know the answer to.
No, it's very beautiful. You know, on the shore, dimly seen through the mists of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silence repose. What is that which the breeze o'er the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half conceals, half disclose? Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam, in full glory reflected, now shines in the stream. 'Tis the star-spangled banner, oh, long may it wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful.
So the whole thing, it was penned by Francis Scott
Yes.
Key, right? Everything.
Yes, absolutely everything.
And he was a poet, kind of, right? Was he a poet?
He
too?
was an attorney. I find that most attorneys moonlight as writers at some point in their life.
That's what they do all day. They're writing.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
I never
Working
heard that
with
law.
Words is their world. Their
Wow.
income.
Words is their womb. That's
Their
beautiful.
womb. I said world.
A
But
world.
Womb would work, I guess.
Oh, we just got.
I don't really think in terms of womb usually.
No,
but,
I
you know.
wouldn't, guess that from you.
So tell me, I hear you're planning a new record.
Yes, we're going to go in this winter and cut a double CD disc. There are 2 types of offerings that I have. When I'm just doing my folk acoustic, I usually play with a violin player, fiddle player, 2 voices. It's more throwback Emmylou Harris, little mix of Joni Mitchell, but it's original Lauren Murphy stuff. But it's more Americana. You put me with a 5-piece rock band, and then all of a sudden we've got the San Francisco psychedelic rock. And that's going to be really cool. So what I'd like to do, my band in the South is Lauren Murphy and the Psychedelics. Out West is just the Lauren Murphy band, but we do both kinds of tunes on both coasts. I'm going to be recording the Southeast band at Dauphin Street Sound. It's a new studio in Mobile that was founded by the Jake Peavy Foundation, San Francisco Giants, number 22. He's revitalizing the Mobile downtown area. He does a lot of outreach with veterans and the Boys and Girls Club, and a lot of that involves music. That's his love is music and tying people together. So I'm going to get into that studio with my Southern band. Then I'll fly out here, connect with my West Coast band, and go back into Prairie Sun Studios with Mooka Rennick, my producer from El Dorado, and mix it up. So I would say this is going to be a Calabamian record. Calabamian.
Huh. Never heard that terminology before.
Get your Circle C on that one.
Oh, my gosh. So you come out here twice a year right now, right?
Yes, I'd like to make it 3, but for now it's 2.
When are you out here?
I have heard tell that I'm going to be back in about a month and a half because I'm on a record with David Lindley. And that's cool. So keep an eye on the website, laurenmurphymusic.com. Next trip after that, for my own tour, not supporting this other record, I'll probably be back in January. I like to hit it right after Christmas. People are ready to blow off steam, and it helps me pay off my own Christmas debt.
So next Christmas?
Probably January we'll be back out here. Or New Year's, so right around that time.
Oh,
I
very
found
good.
that January and June, July work really well for the 6-month. I need to come back here a lot, or I go a little bit nuts in the deep south. It's beautiful, but yeah, I need my West Coast fix.
You need a little bit more speed going on there.
Absolutely.
A little more
it's
activity.
So relaxed down there, but one day is what I get accomplished in one day in the South, I can get 4 days worth of stuff packed into. The West is just rapid fire. And the South, it's like, we're on island time, bruh. You want it today? You're going to wait tomorrow? You're going to wait tomorrow and tomorrow. So it's yeah.
Well, give out your website one more time, your contact information. We have 1 minute left on the show.
LaurenMurphyMusic.com.
Very good, Lauren. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you. And Joe, anything you want to interject before we get off the show today?
Enjoy your Independence Day tomorrow. Have your barbecue and have your fun and support your local Sacramento film scene.
Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Independence Day, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a week from now. Take care.